Hi, welcome to Holotron Tech channel, and today we'll talk about pulseoximeters. Pulseoximeters are used mainly to measure oxygen level of a patient. It outputs many interesting values such as pulse rate, oxygen saturation, or data used to draw photoplethysmogram, that wavy chart that is similar to electrocardiogram. It also detects finger presence and measures the level of its own battery. It could be useful if we could harness the data from such device to use in a DIY project. I, for example, would like to see how my heart rate spikes when I play Valorant or Rocket League, or just use it in other future project. Also, some of you may consider it useful because of COVID and take low oxygen saturation level as an early sign of being sick. So, how does it work? It uses transmissive or reflective technique of measuring light absorption caused by blood vessels. If there are less blood vessels, the absorption is lower, therefore light detector detects higher level of signal, and if there are more blood vessels, the absorption is higher, reducing the level of light detected. However, that allows only to measure the rate of pulse and values to display photoplethysmogram. So, how does it measure oxygen saturation? It does that by using two light-emitting diodes that have different wavelengths. This way, knowing that blood vessels with or without oxygen have different absorption for different light frequencies, it calculates the oxygen saturation. After photodetector measures the level of light, the data is sampled by analog to digital converter and processed by a microcontroller that shows it to the user as a chart. So, this is a device I bought in my local pharmacy. It costs around $25. I decided to open it to look for any possibility of reading the data off of it. I was really hoping I would see a specific set of pads like TX. And on the first unit I bought, there were exactly the pads I wanted, but unfortunately they were disabled and no transmission was coming out of TX. That is why I decided to buy another model of pulseoximeter at my local pharmacy. After probing some pads, it turned out there is a regular transmission coming out of that device, probably left for debugging or production testing purposes. When I saw it, I was really happy because I thought this looks like a serial transmission. We can connect a serial to USB converter right now, but we don't know what baud rate to select and we'll have to guess. But there's a trick that allows to calculate baud rate from time of single bit transmission. Let's calculate 1 over x, where x is time of 1 bit of transmission. So the number we got is 1114,942 bits per second. That looks suspiciously close to 115,200 bits per second, which is a known baud rate. After a little bit of soldering, I managed to connect it to UART converter. I decided that it's the best time right now to hook it up and try to read data that is coming out of it. On my Linux machine, I copied a serial example for Python language, configured it to run with correct port and baud rate, and just started it. And this is the result. I couldn't really understand the thing. But I thought to myself, if this was text data, I would be able to read it after Python converting it while printing, right? So I assumed that this must have been binary data. That was a moment when I realized I should probably not print it just as raw data, but I should probably format it as a list and try to print it as hex values. That is exactly what I did, and after that maneuver it was quite easy to see what kind of data was flying out of the device. So I changed the length of the read command. to match the length of data sent by the device. Then I saw there's a start, there's an end, and there are many other interesting things. I saw that there were two types of frames going out of the device, and I saw it by watching the first 3 bytes, of which 2 first bytes were always constant, and the third byte was almost always 1, but sometimes it was number 2. I decided that filtering this type of data to view as 2 different frames by indenting them in the terminal is not a bad choice. The second frame was flying around once per second, and the other frames were going out like very fast. It was hard to make sense out of the first frame because there were many bytes that I wasn't sure at first what did they correlate to. But the second frame was quite easy to understand, because when I put my finger into the device and I saw on the screen that it was measuring my heart rate, and it was some kind of number like, I don't know, 80 beats per minute, and I saw the saturation level of oxygen in my blood, and it was like, I don't know, 95. It was easy to see those values in second frame after I switched the logging method from hex to decimal. This is when I decided that second frame is no longer a secret to me and I can decode any data I want off of it. I still had questions about the first frame, but I saw that there were data flying around and it was really fast, and I thought to myself, hey, maybe this is data for photoplethysmogram. I think I was right, but there were 4 data packets that were available at the first frame, and I'm not really sure which one is the correct one to decode, because I'm doing a reverse engineering project and there is no documentation for this particular device, right? So while I was coding, I decided I wanted to see what the 4 values that the Pulseoximeter was sending it about the photoplethysmogram were looking like, so I just plotted them out. I couldn't really understand the meaning of the 4 values, but I suppose they were, values from different diodes from the Pulseoximeter or from the ADC, or some were normalized, or I don't really know, because the Pulseoximeter can normalize the values and it can adjust the light levels to match the pressure or the transmission values from the finger. So I decided to leave it alone and just use 2 values that were the kind of best for me. So here I would like to do a little bit of a disclaimer, because this data looks really legit. However, this is a reverse engineering project and my interpretation of the data may be wrong, right? I don't have the documentation or the information from the producer of this Pulseoximeter. So don't use this source code or methods used to derive the data to analyze your own health, alright? Thank you. The last thing I would like to show you is a Valorant escalation match in which I measured my own pulse during the game. If you like the video, you can like it, and if you wish to see more videos like this, then please consider subscribing. I'll leave you to watch my heart rate while I'll play.
You're done. Dead.
Enemy punished. Stay down. One down. Enemy kill. 3.
Lights out.
Here.
Reloading. Reload.
Night night.
Anyone else? Sakuga. 3.
Goodbye. Reloading.
Amateur. Killed them.
Just swag. Who?
Reload.
Oh, come on.
Bad luck. The angel's dead. The angel's dead. Back.
Be faster. Bye.
Idiot. Reloading.
Stay down.
Lights out.
Here.
Match point.
Anyone else? Here. Reloading.
Healer down. Ugh.